Yeah, so we're going to be checking this video out. Road and street design in the Netherlands by Streetscapes. Links down below. Thanks for watching.
The Netherlands. This small European country has earned a well-deserved reputation for its exceptional street design and particularly the bicycle infrastructure. There are bike lanes on all major car routes, a whole parallel network of bicycle paths, and great parking facilities. All this excellent cycling infrastructure is not just limited to cities, it extends seamlessly to the countryside. That's why more than a quarter of all trips are made by bicycle, making it the #1 cycling nation in the world. Anybody visiting the Netherlands for the first time will be blown away by the number of bikes everywhere. You will also notice that the towns and cities are not packed.
It said "Hoy." I seen it right
blown
on the.
away by the number of bikes everywhere.
Somebody wrote "Hoy" right here on the right-hand side, with a little smiley face beside it.
You will also notice that the towns and cities are not packed with cars. Thus, a common misconception is that not that many people drive here, and everybody either cycles or takes public transport. Of course, a lot of people do, but the Netherlands actually has one of the highest car ownership rates in Europe, beating countries like France, Sweden, and the UK. Moreover, when you calculate the number of cars per square kilometer of land, the Dutch beat all neighboring countries in the EU with 229 cars per square kilometer. However, when you walk around any residential neighborhood, there is barely any traffic, there are car-free areas, and of course no traffic in the city centers. So how do they do it? Public space in urban and rural areas can be divided into traffic and residential areas. Traffic areas ensure the flow of traffic, and residential areas restrict motor vehicle access and speed. To make getting around as easy and as safe as possible, you need to create a recognizable road network. To achieve this, there needs to be a clear hierarchy of roads, each with its own distinct design elements, which leads to a continuous roadscape throughout the country, ensuring predictable traffic situations, making driving more comfortable and safer. Each road category will have different road types and designs. However, as the amount of road types increases, the harder will it be for drivers to recognize the road category they are on and adjust their driving behavior accordingly. Covering all road designs in one video would take way too long, so I'll cover the basics of the three main road categories, which are through roads, distributor roads, and access roads. Large urban areas are connected by through.
And access roads are the ones that's like the back streets, right? Like that's how they divert traffic. Like when you're walking around a walkable city and you're not seeing all these delivery trucks and stuff, right? It's because they have the access roads where the delivery trucks go behind the buildings to deliver the goods, right? And not on the pedestrian areas or something, I think.
Through roads. Through roads or highways ensure a continuous flow of traffic over long distances. Lanes are wide, there are no obstacles, allowing driving at high speeds comfortably. Most importantly, there are no intersections at grade, and only interchanges allow traffic to get on or off the highway. Bicycle paths on interchanges are separated for increased safety, and here it's designed so that bicycles don't intersect with on and off coming highway traffic. Within urban areas, a through road encircling a city functioning as a ring road is intended to relieve congestion within the city center. However, a ring road is not always a through road in its categorization, as here, for example, there is a signalized intersection, making it a distributor road. Bicycles or scooters are not allowed on highways, however, there is always a nearby alternative, such as a bicycle path or a distributor road.
Here, there's literally times where you'll see people riding down the highway on a bicycle because there's no other option. Very unsafe. I've done it before. When I was 12, I had to ride my bike down a busy highway one time. I didn't have to. I did. I don't remember why. I was going to the gas station for something. I don't remember. I just remember it was really dangerous, really sketchy. My mom did not know I did that, and as soon as I told her, she flipped out because she was so scared that I'd get hit by a car. And I see now why she was afraid.
Smaller urban areas are connected by distributor roads, with the most significant having separated bicycle infrastructure, as it is unsafe at such high traffic volumes and speeds for cars and bikes to mix. Lining the roadway with trees introduces a visual barrier that can reduce the comfort of driving at high speeds. Also,
And it
lane
makes
markings
it
consist of two
safer.
continuous broken lines as they are more noticeable and discourage overtaking more than a single
Right, but it's safer too if you do happen to have a driver that veers out of their lane and off the side of the road instead of it being like here, like Evan showed earlier with the bike path, so-called bike path, just being a section on the side, like this dotted road on the side. That's just like your bike path, and you got vehicles going that fast right there, and you're supposed to be cycling right beside of them. I mean, you could reach out and touch the vehicles from your bicycle. It's that close. Not safe at all.
single broken line. Both the roadway and bicycle paths have rumble strips to alert drivers and cyclists in case of veering off the road. At intersections, there are traffic islands that restrict overtaking and make the crossing for pedestrians and cyclists safer and less stressful, as they only have to cross one lane at a time.
Right.
Sharp teeth that are pointing towards you indicate that you have to yield. Notice how
Yeah, so the shark teeth thing, there was that video about Nanaimo, British Columbia, Canada, and how they're redoing a lot of their stuff to introduce like, more cycling friendly stuff and this and that, and then taking a lot of the points from the Netherlands, I think, right? Because the video was comparing it to the way they do it in the Netherlands. And the shark teeth thing, I've never really paid attention if there's any shark teeth around here anywhere. I don't know that I've seen them. But in Nanaimo, they're using them, but backwards from what the way that the Netherlands does. Like in one country, I don't remember which. One country it points like towards the way the traffic flows, and in another country it's like pointing away or something, but completely backwards. It should be a standard between all countries. If you use those certain symbols, those symbols should be used in a very similar way, not be backwards from different countries that's using them, especially if you're going to say that you're taking points from that other country to implement the shark teeth in the first place. Then you should just do it the same way they do it, right? Not make it backwards.
Notice how this intersection is built at a rather sharp angle, so the drivers have to pay a bit more attention. Bicycle paths are set back, so the drivers can first yield to bicycles and then yield to motor traffic, making the maneuver easier and safer. At intersections where two distributor roads meet, roundabouts are preferred. Nevertheless, roundabouts can also be used where distributor roads intersect with access roads. When entering an urban area, it is important that there is a change in road design. There is a traffic island slowing drivers down and indicating the beginning of a built-up area. This is a very simple
Okay.
example where instead of two continuous lines, there is red paint to remind drivers of the lowered speed limit. Here the roadway is at the same level as the pavement, giving the feeling of a street rather than a road. And because the whole of the Netherlands is so densely populated, there is second infrastructure outside of cities as well. This effectively eliminates the need for a car even for those living in the countryside. The distributor road shown earlier
But also the country isn't like everything's more dense there, right? So everything's more together. So like it's more spread out here. So like somebody living out in the country here, it still might take you 10 or 12 minutes to drive to town in a car driving at 60, 70, 80 even, if you're on the highway. So like for me, I don't live in town. There's like a little community of houses. It's not a town, but it takes me in a vehicle like 10 or 12 minutes to drive to the closest town. So that's not that everything's not as spread out as much in the Netherlands because it's denser, it's closer together. So you wouldn't really have an area that would take you 15 minutes between towns necessarily as much, I don't think, over there at vehicle speeds at least. In
that
certain
connects
areas,
nearby
yeah.
towns and villages to the city of Groningen was considered too indirect of a route, so they built a bicycle highway running parallel to the train tracks, which only saves 2 minutes at best. However, this kind of dedication to creating attractive alternatives to driving is necessary to reduce the amount of car trips. This video was shot on a workday afternoon, and there are all sorts of people using it, including people getting around on regular bikes, e-bikes, people cycling for sports, and people on mobility scooters. And of course, frequent bus service is also available, connecting rural and urban areas together. The rest of the roads outside built-up areas are called access roads. The first type has separated second infrastructure and is used in areas with relatively high traffic volumes, while the other type mixes cars and bikes together. A key characteristic of access roads is the lack of lane markings in the center of the roadway. Notice how as soon as you exit an urban area, these markings are shifted to the side to reduce the comfort of high-speed driving. For roads with medium traffic volumes, cars and bikes share the road, and these markings indicate possible bicycle traffic. On the remaining roads, which
But see the markings, a lot of people are like they mentioned like in that video about Canada, Nanaimo or whatever, right? How they're like, well, if you got the markings on the road, then what's the purpose of the sign? But like I think it's in the winter time, you know. A lot of times the road, especially there in British Columbia, Canada, they'd have a lot of snow cover on the ground, right? So the signs, I think that's why around here in this continent at least, it's focused more. I mean, there's road markings too, but it's not as reliant on road markings, right? 'Cause most of our stuff is done by signs, and I think a lot of it's because of the fact that the road could be covered with snow half the year or a quarter of the year, depending on where you are, right?
which are narrow countryside routes leading to farms or villages, traffic volumes are very low. Gravel or grass tiles are placed on the sides of these roads to enable two cars to pass each other comfortably. At intersections, such as this one in a small village, you have to yield to anybody coming from.
Wait, what? Gravel on the side? I think that's the same as they call it a shoulder here. They have yeah, you can't really see it, but yeah, there's that strip of gravel. It's almost the same color as the road. For some reason they call it a shoulder here, but our roads have that too a lot of times. So it's like a gradual, it's in between so that the it keeps the grass back and like keeps everything a little farther from the road, I guess. And maybe does give you a way to pass other vehicles if you're on a small narrow country road.
At intersections, such as this one in a small village, you have to yield to anybody coming from the right or follow priority signs if present. Similar to distributor roads, when entering an urban area, there is an narrowing with a speed bump indicating the beginning of a built-up area and a change of speed limit. Traffic areas in urban
See
areas
the visual or like the interaction with the car, the feedback you get from the road, I think helps a lot probably like because here you don't have people paying attention. So then you have big roads that go through small towns, small little communities and stuff. And it's like all they do is they slap up a sign. Well, you're going 55 miles an hour according to the road sign speed limit. People drive faster, right? Well, then you get to this small little community without warning, you get like a sign that says like 30 mile an hour or 35 mile an hour without like almost no warning. And then you got like a community of houses. Very dangerous. A lot of people don't slow down to that. So then next thing you know, you have a small community of houses with people just flying by at highway speeds with no sidewalks, nothing. And it's just very dangerous.
are mostly made up of distributor roads. It's important to mention that this is absolutely a street.
Yeah, so the reason I was saying that was so it would benefit here for us to have the feedback, the bumps on the road, stuff like that, because instead of it just being no warning, you're not paying attention, next thing you know, then you're just blasting highway speeds right through this little tiny community. Uh, you would feel that, and then that would remind you in advance, oh yeah, I need to slow down to make it safer, right?
Street rather than a road, which would then look something like this. However, for simplicity purposes, it's still referred to as a road. These connect residential areas together, and the majority have curbside protected bicycle lanes on either side of the roadway. Bidirectional bike lanes are also used, but on roads with low traffic volumes, there are only markings indicating possible traffic, like this one in a suburban neighborhood. Preferably, there is a median in the middle of the road that discourages overtaking and acts as a buffer zone, reducing the possibility of a head-on crash. Furthermore, it acts as a mini crossing island, like those at a pedestrian crossing, but here pedestrians have the right of way. When there is parking, it's placed nearest to the roadway, thereby creating a buffer zone between moving traffic and bicycles. And on
Yeah.
newer roads,
And there's a street in Warsaw, Indiana that added a bike path. And all they did is like they widened the road. And then they did the same thing that they did on that video earlier by Evan Edinger, where it's just a little painted section right beside the car lane. And then they did the parking spots past that. So you still have to go through the bike lane to park your car, and the bike lane is still in between the parking on the side and the road. So they didn't put the separation there. Whereas this makes more sense. You got the road for cars, parking spot, then the bike lane. The parking spot is the buffer between the two for the separation. That makes sense.
Roads is built at the same level as the pavement, thus visually narrowing the roadway. Ideally though, if there are high traffic volumes and there is space, a parallel access road is constructed. The distributor road on the left ensures the flow of motor traffic, and the access road on the right provides parking and can be used by cyclists. At signalized intersections with other distributor roads, there are typically protected left and right turns for minimizing conflicts with other road users. A green arrow indicates full priority when turning, and a green light means you might have to yield to pedestrians and cyclists when turning left or right.
That's
And pretty
confusing
much all traffic.
because here the yield is like the yellow kind of thing. Green is just go. Usually, if it's green, well, yeah, if it's green, no, I can't think of any reason when it's or any specific situation where it's green, but you also still have to yield. It's interesting.
Traffic lights adapt their timing based on real-time traffic conditions through detection strips, which are present on both the roadway and bicycle lanes.
They have those here.
Since all intersections should work smoothly without the traffic lights working, there is always priority signage as well as shark's teeth indicating the right-of-way. Here in Groningen, bicycles get a simultaneous green light and negotiate the right-of-way through eye contact. It's really fascinating watching intersections during rush hour and how it just works. However, one problem with traffic lights is the constant speeding up and braking. This is where the concept of
What are those numbers for? Why is there numbers on the signs right here? It says 9.2. Up here it says 9.1. This one says 48.1. And then over there says 8.2. What is that for? All right, so only X amount of seconds after you get a red light, the opposite side will get a green light. That's how it is here too. It's usually like 2 seconds or something. After it turns red, there's like a couple seconds where there's nothing, and then all of a sudden, then it's green, and then you can go on the other side or whatever. Numbers don't mean anything because they're automated. Is sequenced to refer to the computer. Oh, cops, police, dash cam video surveillance purposes, just numbers, signs so you can locate things probably then, I guess. Locator numbers. I don't know. Traffic system info for mechanic. Yeah, so you can go there and be like, all right, we got an issue with light number 9.1. That makes sense because you got 9.2, you got 9.1. There are no two numbers the same. You got an 8.2, 48.1. Yeah. Good deal.
One problem with traffic lights is the constant speeding up and braking. This is where the concept of drive slow and go faster steps in. It doesn't require traffic lights and argues that traffic operates more efficiently when it travels at uniform low speeds, roughly around 40 kilometers an hour. There is one.
What are you barking at? There's no one. Yeah, there's no one here. What are you barking at? You scared me.
There is one travel lane in each direction, which is separated by a median, and there is space for greenery and proper cycling infrastructure, which enhances the overall quality of the urban environment. A common myth is that the number of lanes determines the capacity of a road. It's actually determined by the intersection, which is why one travel lane turns into 3 here, connecting to the larger distributor road. On large roads like this, where traffic volumes are very high, the preferred design includes a dedicated transitway in the center of the road, which can also be used by emergency vehicles.
See, they don't have that here. And I've seen problems like that a lot where it's like you have gridlock traffic, everybody's in their lanes because you got the left turn lane here, you got the two straight lanes, then you got the right turn lane over there. There's nothing else. There's no free lanes. So if you got a bunch of people stopped at a red light and every single lane is packed on both sides, and all of a sudden you got an ambulance or police vehicles, fire trucks, whatever trying to come through. Now you got people trying to get out of their way and scoot and this and that. And, yeah, sure, there's like that small little median section on the side, the so-called cycle path that they use for a cycle path in some places. There's that, but that's only half as wide as the vehicle. So you still have to have people trying to squeeze out of the way to get these emergency vehicles to pass. Sometimes it's a huge issue. So having like a access, right down the middle for emergency vehicles is definitely something that's needed here. Um, but of course, there's a lot of stuff that's needed here, a lot of infrastructure that we're lacking in that I've been finding out about.
The necessity for a bus lane on both sides of a road or throughout its entire length can
KFC.
vary based on the specific route and prevailing traffic volumes. This road has a bus lane on either side of the road. However, a kilometer away, this route profile changes. There are one-way access roads parallel to the distributor road, which doesn't have the two bus lanes anymore. At the intersection, there is a bus stop, which also acts as a short bus lane, and the detection strips enable the bus to get a head start before the rest of the traffic gets a green light. Fully separate transitways are also built where motor traffic is not allowed. This even includes transit-only bridges in a city with a population of 200,000 people. Finally, we will look at access roads in urban areas which are typically linked to a distributor road through an unsignalized intersection. Roundabouts are also used with both distributor and access roads, but I will cover them in detail in a future video. At unsignalized intersections, there are traffic islands for improving safety, and intersections can be slightly raised to make drivers slow down and pay attention. The road is relatively narrow and doesn't have lane markings in the middle to make drivers go the speed limit. There is a bidirectional bicycle path on the right side, however pedestrians don't get a priority crossing. When traffic needs to cross a bike lane, it's preferably set back. This arrangement maximizes visibility for the driver and provides a waiting space, ensuring separate yielding for bicycles and motor traffic. The best practice, though, is to use a continuous pavement or exit construction, as it's called in Dutch. There are two types of exit constructions. The first is constructed based on the destination criterion, providing access to private properties with a subtle design. The second is built according to the construction criterion, using beveled curbs and serves as a gateway to a residential area.
Yeah, so that should be a raised spot, right? Like they were doing in the Nine Nemo place, where when it transitions from like the road over the bike path and then across into like whatever you're going to. It's like a raised section and then kind of drops past that onto the other road, right? I don't know why my right in the middle of my stomach it keeps itching. I don't know why. Got dry skin, I guess.
In both cases, the pavement and the bike lane remain uninterrupted, indicating that pedestrians and cyclists have the right of way. The beveled curbs function as speed bumps, signaling to
Yeah, yeah.
drivers that they are entering a residential area with a different road category.
Yeah, that's how they were doing in Nanaimo in Canada. That's one of the things that they implemented there that takes after the Dutch street design.
Access roads are a part of a 30 km/h zone where the local resident is put first and motor traffic is of secondary importance. Look how the speed limit and parking restrictions are neatly integrated into one sign. Parking is only permitted in designated spaces, which eliminates the need for signage everywhere. Here parking needs to be paid for and is done with a single sign indicating a paid parking zone and another sign with detailed restrictions. In general, traffic signs are quite small and designed to avoid visual pollution on the streets. Certain signage, such as directions to the nearest parking meter, are integrated into the pavement, and cars equipped.
Yeah, but see the thing with that though, which I understand not having signs because it's prettier without signs. But what do you do when all the roads and stuff? Which I mean, I guess there's a lot of stuff in the Netherlands in some cities where there's like warmers in the road, right? Where it just melts the ice and snow away because there's like heating pads or something built in. I don't know if that's just in certain bike paths in certain places. It's a thing somewhere over there. I don't think it's widely used, but what do you do when you're not in that spot when you just have ice which I guess they're just on top of it. They just plow the streets, right? Sometimes they're slacking here. They don't plow all the streets or, out in the country. and stuff, it's like there's roads that might not even get plowed, and it's kind of just up to the farmers and the people that live there to do it, is how they kind of do us here outside of the city. In the cities, they definitely, keep up on the road plowing and stuff, and like the highways they do too, but yeah.
Equipped with 360-degree cameras automatically detect whether a parked car has paid for parking or possesses a valid permit. If
Okay.
a bicycle has been left unattended for an extended period of time, it first gets a warning and later gets taken away to prevent overcluttering of abandoned bikes. What I found really interesting is
Oh, you don't have a whole lot of snow there. Yeah, I keep forgetting about that. But the thing is here, like, we get a lot of snow. Not always, not every winter. Some winters are better than others, but yeah, it gets I've seen 6 foot snow drifts out here before in the country and stuff. Like it gets brutal sometimes, man. It's crazy. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I don't like winter. It looks cool. That's about it. I don't want to be in it. It's so cold.
when there is nowhere else to park,
Sand,
it is
huh?
entirely acceptable for drivers to block the way for other cars when loading or unloading.
Well, yeah, they say it says mostly they spread special salt that melts the snow. They have that here too, but it's not everywhere. Out in the country, back roads get forgot about. You don't. That's not a thing. Highways, yeah, in the cities, main roads, state roads, stuff like that. They definitely put the salt down as well. Uh, but if you're just off on those weird little back roads out there in the middle of the country, good luck, because they ain't out there salting it or plowing it. It sucks, and it's worse. Like places in Michigan. Michigan gets crazy up there. I got to go back a little bit. I got distracted. Sorry.
What I found really interesting is when there is nowhere else to park, it is entirely acceptable for drivers to block the way for other cars when loading or unloading. People here do not mind waiting a minute or two instead of aggressively yelling, honking, or driving on the pavement. Access roads are preferred.
Well, I mean, that's what you're used to. It's not like it's just the first time you've seen somebody park in the road to unload something. That's just the way it's built there. So you're all used to that being a thing. And just sometimes you got to wait a minute or two and, slow down. Don't be in such a hurry, I guess, kind of thing. Whereas here, it's not a thing normally because there's just roads access everywhere. So when you do get stopped with somebody in front of you, it's not something you're used to happening as much here, I guess. So like, and people here have road rage.
Preferably made of brick, to remind drivers that they are in a residential area and to keep vehicle speeds low. Additionally, a variety of traffic calming measures are implemented, such as chicanes and speed bumps, which are mostly made in a way that you can go over them smoothly when going the speed limit.
Yeah.
The same is done at intersections, which prevents unnecessary speeding up and abrupt braking throughout a neighborhood. And at intersections, the person coming from the right gets priority. This arrangement is probably the most simple yet the most effective way of making everybody pay attention and keep vehicle speeds low.
I think that's how it is here too. If you stop at an intersection at the same time and there's not a light that's directing traffic, it's just like a stop sign or something. I think basically it's just if two people stop at the same time, it's whoever's on the right. And John says that they might get some snow down in Texas. Yeah, a lot of it just depends on where it is. Like, there's a lot of places here that don't get snow at all. It just depends on where you are and stuff. But definitely where I'm at, we get lake effect snow because we get like cold air that comes down from Canada and then goes across like Lake Michigan, and it cools things down and messes with the weather and everything. And yeah, it kind of can be extreme at points in our winter. For sure. I don't like it. It looks pretty though, sometimes.
If priority is necessary, an exit construction can still be used. This is most often implemented on small main streets in residential areas that provide access to other streets, most of which are intentionally designed one way for cars to prevent drivers from using them as shortcuts and instead make use of distributor roads.
I don't like one
This
ways.
makes a peaceful living environment for the residents as it reduces the flow of traffic through residential neighborhoods.
I hate driving somewhere that I'm not familiar with, and it's like I need to go there. I can see where I need to go, but I can't go there because it's a one way going this way. So now I have to like go all the way around and it's like a whole thing. And I just don't like one ways. I don't. Indianapolis is full of one ways. That sucks. Driving around Indianapolis downtown. That sucks.
Another way of restricting traffic is the concept of filtered permeability. Cyclists and mopeds are allowed to pass through, however, motor traffic has to take a different route. Here the sign indicates that it's a dead end for cars, but cyclists can continue their journey. The area alongside the pond is exclusively accessible to pedestrians and cyclists, while cars can reach the buildings from the opposite side. By
Looks
establishing
peaceful.
separate routes for motorists and cyclists, it acts as a strong incentive for people to cycle. Some streets can be transformed into bicycle streets where cars must yield to bikes. However, cyclists are permitted to ride side by side everywhere, and cars must yield to them regardless. Upon strolling through various neighborhoods, one can't help but notice the abundance of greenery.
I was gonna say that looks beautiful. Not what a back alley looks like around here. Back alley around here looks like the start of a horror movie or something. Yeah, that looks nice. That looks like somewhere I would just enjoy being. I like the orange bike there on the left too. I thought I pushed play. What happened?
Upon
There
strolling
we
through
go.
various neighborhoods, one can't help but notice the abundance of greenery. Certain streets were initially designed with exceptional street profiles that incorporate green spaces. For other streets, residents have the opportunity to apply for a facade garden, which is a narrow strip of land in front of their houses. There are no costs associated with this. Municipal workers will remove tiles from the pavement and fill them with soil, provided that the owner agrees to maintain the garden.
Wow, no cost. If they did something like that here in the United States, you'd get charged. There's no way the city would come out and do that for free. Absolutely no way. Like you can't even get the city to come out and fix the sidewalk in front of your house. Like you're like the Evan Edinger video, you know, it's like the homeowner or whatever would be responsible for that sidewalk or whatever. Yeah, they would definitely charge you here to come out and like customize and put a flower bed in front of your business. That's cool that they do it for free.
Residents are also permitted to grow climbing plants, and furthermore, you can apply to
Nice.
take care of a flower bed around a tree and receive planting advice. And since
Nice.
the streets are already quite appealing, people are even more motivated to decorate them with their own flower pots and decorations.
Right.
This collective effort contributes to the development of better neighborhoods for themselves and their fellow residents, fostering a stronger sense of community. So arguably, the most pleasant living environments can be found in home zones or wooners. The pavement and the roadway are at the same level.
Okay, this is what a woo nerve. Somebody was talking about woo nerves, and I didn't know what they were talking about. They were explaining it being a type of road and this and that, but without having the visual indicator or, you know, just reading it in a sentence is different than seeing it, right? Yeah.
Level, and it's clear that you shouldn't drive fast here. This is why speed bumps are typically considered a last resort for traffic calming, as the road design itself should convey the need for slower speeds. Here the parking is put perpendicular to the road and changes directions, creating a chicane effect and keeping vehicle speeds low. Home zones are truly remarkable places to live in. These areas typically have a lot of greenery and offer spaces for relaxation. And if you want, you can even play table tennis. Studies have shown that Dutch children are the happiest in the world. People here understand that playing outside for children must start right outside their front door.
Right.
This way, they can slowly build up knowledge of their surroundings, start traveling on their own, and start becoming independent.
But that's the thing is the infrastructure allows for it. It's safe. You can do that there, right? I mean, there's separation between like a cyclist and a giant Hummer driving 90 miles an hour, right? Like your child's not forced to ride their bicycle a foot and a half away from this massive Hummer that may or may not veer into the cycle lane and unalive the child. It's you know what I'm saying? So like you can do that. That's great. It's just harder to do that here in a lot of places.
Also, you will find permanent car-free areas, creating beautiful living environments. However, all types of buildings at some point may require access for emergency or delivery purposes. This is why
Yeah.
a car-light approach is often preferred over completely car-free areas, striking a balance between accessibility and creating appealing spaces. This is the case for city centers, which are still accessible by car. However, there is not that much on-street parking, and squares and plazas are usually pedestrianized. The majority of parked cars you'll encounter are delivery vehicles, and they must adhere to specific timeframes for making their deliveries.
Yeah.
This scheduling helps reduce the clutter of parked delivery vehicles throughout the entire day. This is one of the central squares in the city, serving as a market on some days. It used to be a parking lot, and this image has been floating around the internet, praising the removal of parking. Unfortunately,
Yeah, and that's how it was before the 70s in the Netherlands. It started becoming too much with the cars. Cars were taking over.
this is a terrible example, as right around the corner, several buildings had to be knocked down to make room for a parking garage. A better example is, of course, underground parking garages, where the majority of on-street parking gets relocated. The same for bicycles. There can be quite a bit of them, and there are restrictions for
Yeah.
bicycle parking in some areas, which encourages the use of bicycle parking garages. To keep through traffic out of the inner city, Groningen in the late 70s implemented a traffic circulation plan, dividing the city center into 4 sectors and establishing one-way streets. Despite facing strong criticism initially from shopkeepers, these changes ultimately led to a more vibrant inner city and, of course, attracted plenty of visitors. It is important to note that no street is ever complete. The Dutch constantly monitor traffic flows and look for possible improvements. The Netherlands serves as a brilliant example of effective road and street design, showcasing a strong commitment to safety, sustainability, and the well-being of its citizens.
So what's all these Dutch flags for here then? If it's not, because I heard like it's not like the United States where people aren't just flying flags all the time. That normally when you see like a Dutch flag or something in the Netherlands, it would normally be like an important place or a government place maybe. But in this residential area, there's just a lot. Is it like a celebration kind of thing? Maybe like just a certain type of time of year? There's a lot. I mean, all the way up and down both sides of the street. There's one up there. Huh. Some national day, I guess. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, so it's just like a celebratory sort of thing. This isn't standard, right? Cool.
They have achieved an impressive balance between motorized and non-motorized transportation. This raises the question, how long will it take for the rest of the world to follow?
Could be King's Day. Yeah. It's a good or yeah, May 5th, Liberation Day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, the world's trying to take suit. Like slowly, there's places that's trying to implement cycling stuff, and a lot of them are comparing it to the Netherlands. Just probably, I mean, it makes sense. Netherlands is like the cycling infrastructure type capital of the world, so it makes sense to take points from the Dutch way of doing things in that regard, right?
This raises the question, how long will it take for the rest of the world to follow? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe for more
I
videos.
did. So thanks for hitting like because I know everybody clicked like on that on the video down here and all that good stuff. So anyways, thanks for watching with me. You guys have a super fun awesome day. I'll catch you in the next one.